This video is looking at Charles Darwin and his discoveries in the Galapagos. Charles Darwin was an English naturalist. He was born in February of 1809. He died in April of 1882. And his job was as a geologist, biologist, and naturalist. He's most well known for publishing his book, The Origin of Species. Now, the inspiration from this book came from his travels aboard the HMS Beagle. Okay, he traveled aboard the ship for 5 years and acted as the ship's naturalist. And as a naturalist, it was his job to learn as much as possible about the living things that he saw. One of the things he saw was fossils on top of mountains. Now, these were fossils of sea creatures, and they were on top of a mountain, which would make you think that at one point that mountain was probably covered by ocean or by water. As his ship traveled to Argentina, South America, he found bones of animals that had died a long time ago, okay, such as this fossil of a toxodon, which is like a giant rat. He also saw many species that looked very similar but had subtle differences. Like among iguanas, there were land iguanas that ate nothing but prickly cactus plants, and there were marine iguanas which fed on seaweed and spent most of their life in the water. He also saw large seabirds called cormorants. Now, on the mainland, on the main continent of South America, those large seabirds were able to fly, but on the Galapagos they weren't. And then he also noticed that on each of the Galapagos islands there were different tortoises. They had different shaped shells, their necks were different lengths, and he saw that there were different finches on different islands. They had different beaks. And all of this got him wondering what could cause this tremendous diversity. Now today, scientists have identified over 2.5 million species on planet Earth. And Darwin was thinking after traveling to the Galapagos, he wanted to know what could explain these differences. Why were there so many differences, even just from island to island? And he concluded that a small number of different plants and animals had come to the Galapagos Island from the mainland. Maybe they were blown in during a storm or set adrift on a log. So somehow these animals got to the Galapagos Islands where they started to have different adaptations. Okay, so different organisms were better able to survive, and this led to his idea of natural selection. And he published his idea of natural selection in a book, The Origin of Species. Now, Darwin was not the only scientist working on this idea that organisms changed over time. He was just the first to publish his idea. And his idea was called natural selection. That's described as the process by which individuals that are better adapted to their environment are more likely to survive and reproduce than other members of the same species.